Picture the ancient world at night. No electric lights, no glowing screens, only darkness and the sky. Above you stretch thousands of stars. Ancient people didn't see these as distant suns. They saw a cosmic machine, a divine clock measuring the fate of the world. Every movement of the heavens meant something. Seasons, kingdoms, judgment. Some Jewish thinkers of the ancient world believed that heaven was literally keeping time for history. And two mysterious texts try to decode that clock. One is wild and cosmic, full of rebellious angels and forbidden knowledge. The other is controlled, disciplined, political, yet still terrifying in its predictions. Those books are the Book of Enoch and the Book of Daniel. They're cousins in the same mystical family, but they disagree about one crucial question. Why is the world falling apart? Let's step into that ancient debate, a world of angelic princes, collapsing empires, and a prophetic timeline that claims that the end of history was already scheduled. Now, to understand Daniel, you have to understand the strange genre that both books belong to: apocalyptic literature. Today, the word apocalypse means catastrophe. But in the ancient world, it meant something different. It meant revelation. It meant a secret being pulled back, a curtain lifted. Apocalyptic writers believed that heaven had revealed the hidden architecture of history. To them, history wasn't random. It followed a divine timetable. Empires rose on schedule. Wars erupted on schedule. Even suffering had a place in the cosmic calendar. Think of it like gears inside a giant celestial clock. Humans could only see the hands moving, but prophets claimed they had glimpsed the gears. One of the greatest apocalyptic works was the astronomical book inside the Book of Enoch, written somewhere between the 4th and 3rd centuries before the Common Era. It describes something extraordinary: a tour of the universe. The patriarch Enoch, great-grandfather of Noah, is taken on a cosmic journey by the angels.
Observe, Enoch, these heavenly tablets, and read what is written thereon, and mark every individual fact.
He's shown how the sun moves through 6 eastern gates, how the moon waxes and wanes, how the calendar of heaven governs the seasons of earth. The message is simple, yet revolutionary. The universe, you see, is perfectly ordered. The heavens operate according to divine law. And if heaven is perfectly ordered, well, then the chaos of human history must have another explanation. The Book of Watchers, another part of Enoch, provides that answer. History was corrupted by a cosmic crime. A group of angels called the Watchers descended to earth. They married human women. They taught forbidden knowledge, weapons, cosmetics, sorcery, astrology. And their offspring, giants, devoured the world. Civilization itself became violent and corrupt. According to Enoch, evil didn't begin with humanity. No, it began with the rebellious angels. The world is broken because heaven was once violated. Now, fast forward to the 2nd century BCE. The Jewish people face a crisis unlike anything before. Their homeland is ruled by the Seleucid Empire, one of the successor states to Alexander the Great. Its king, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, attempts something radical. He tries to erase Jewish identity entirely. Circumcision is outlawed. Torah study becomes a capital crime. The Jerusalem temple, the beating heart of the Jewish religious life, is desecrated. For many Jews, the moment feels apocalyptic. The covenant itself seems under attack. And during this moment of crisis, someone writes a mysterious text, a book pretending to come from a Jewish exile centuries earlier in Babylon, a man named Daniel. But scholars know the truth. The book was actually written during the persecution itself, around 167 to 163 BCE. It wasn't really predicting the future, it was interpreting the present. Like Enoch, the book of Daniel believes that history follows a divine pattern. But Daniel explains that pattern in a very different way. Enoch says the world was ruined by angelic rebellion. Daniel says something simpler, and in some ways darker. History itself is degenerating. Civilizations are getting worse. Morality is eroding. Human power is becoming more brutal with every empire. Daniel expresses this idea through one of the most famous visions in the Hebrew Bible. In chapter 2 of his book, the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar dreams of a colossal statue, and Daniel interprets the dream.
Your Majesty looked, and there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay. While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace. But the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth.
The statue is made of different materials. A head of gold, chest and arms of silver, belly and thighs of bronze, legs of iron, feet made of iron mixed with clay. Each part represents a kingdom ruling the world. But notice something. The materials are declining in value. Gold becomes silver. Silver becomes bronze. Bronze becomes iron. History isn't climbing upward, it's falling downward. The final stage, iron mixed with clay, is unstable, weak, ready to collapse. And Daniel is telling his readers something shocking. They are living at the very bottom of history. The worst era yet, the age of the final empire.
After you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others.
And when that empire collapses, God's kingdom will replace it.
In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms and bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever.
Another vision makes the message even darker. Daniel sees 4 beasts rising from the sea: a lion with eagle's wings, a bear devouring flesh, a leopard with 4 heads, and then a final creature so terrifying it defies description. Iron teeth, crushing power, 10 horns. These beasts represent the same sequence of empires: Babylon, Media, Persia, and finally the Greek Empire, the world of Antiochus IV. History, you see, in Daniel's eyes, is a parade of monsters, each empire more violent than the last. But then something extraordinary happens. The scene suddenly shifts. The courtroom of heaven appears. Ancient thrones are set in place, and a mysterious figure called the Ancient of Days sits in judgment.
As I looked on, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient of Days took a seat, wearing a garment like white snow, and with hair like lamb's wool. This throne was tongues of flame. Its wheels were blazing fire. A river of fire streamed forth from it. Thousands upon thousands rendered service. Myriads upon myriads stood in attendance. The court sat and the books were opened.
The beasts are destroyed. Their dominion ends, and a new kingdom is given to one like a son of man, a kingdom that will never end. For persecuted Jews, this vision was oxygen. Empires may look unstoppable, but heaven is preparing their final trial. Daniel then revealed something even more precise: a prophetic timeline. The prophecy of 70 weeks. Now, according to this vision, history has been divided into 70 units of time, 70 weeks of years, 490 years. During that time, Jerusalem will experience tragedy after tragedy, sin, war, desecration, and finally, the ultimate horror, the profanation of the temple itself. But that moment will also mark the beginning of the end. To Daniel's audience, the message was electrifying. The crisis under Antiochus wasn't random. It had been scheduled by heaven centuries earlier. History had reached its final countdown. Now, here's where Daniel's worldview intersects with Enoch again. Daniel also believes that angels influence the fate of nations. But they're not rebels in Daniel chapter 10. A heavenly messenger explains that every empire has a spiritual counterpart. The Prince of Persia, the Prince of Greece, these angelic powers represent the spiritual dimension of geopolitics. But they don't act independently of God. They're instruments of divine judgment. When empires rise and fall, it's not because rebellious angels are wreaking havoc. It's because God is directing history through them.
The prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me for 21 days. But Michael, a prince of the first rank, came to my aid.
The world may look chaotic, but behind the scenes, heaven still controls the board. Daniel's message leads to a surprising conclusion. If history is unfolding according to a divine timetable, then rebellion might actually interfere with God's plan. And that places Daniel in tension with another group of Jews living at the same time, the Maccabees. The Maccabees. They believed that the solution to Antiochus's tyranny was armed revolt. And historically, they succeeded. But the heroes of Daniel take a different path. They resist, but not violently. They refuse to bow to idols. They refuse to stop praying. They refuse to abandon the Torah. And when punishment comes, they endure it. Faithfulness becomes their form of resistance. The kingdom of God will come, but it will arrive by divine intervention, not human warfare. There's another fascinating layer in Daniel's message, because the author criticizes the corruption of the priesthood, but he doesn't reject the temple itself. In fact, he defends it. The temple has been profaned by foreign rulers, but it remains the legitimate center of Jewish worship. God will restore it before the end of time. And this reflects the worldview of Zadokite Judaism, the priestly tradition associated with the Jerusalem temple. Interestingly, the community at Qumran, the group associated with the Dead Sea Scrolls, preserved several copies of Daniel. For them, the book's message made perfect sense. History had gone wrong, but the covenant still stood. And now we see the deeper purpose of the book of Daniel. It seems to be responding to the ideas found in Enoch. Enoch's explanation for evil was cosmic rebellion. Daniel shifts the focus. Yes, angelic sin may have begun the degeneration of history, but the real crisis now is human transgression of the Torah. History collapses when the covenant collapses. And this is crucial. It's a crucial shift. Daniel preserves the apocalyptic worldview. He preserves the visions, the angels, the cosmic timetable. But he redirects them toward covenantal Judaism, toward the law of Moses, toward faithfulness to the covenant. In other words, Daniel absorbs the mystical energy of the Enochic tradition, and he channels it back into Torah-centered faith. This may explain something curious about Jewish history. The Book of Enoch was wildly popular in the ancient world. Fragments were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. Early Christians loved it. Yet, eventually, it disappeared from the Jewish biblical canon. But Daniel survived. Rabbinic Judaism preserved it as Holy Writ, as sacred scripture. Why? Probably because Daniel achieved something unique. It combined apocalyptic hope with loyalty to the covenant. It warned that history was collapsing, but it insisted that the Torah still mattered. The temple still mattered. Faithfulness still mattered. If we step back and look at these two books side by side, we see two different explanations for the crisis of the world. Enoch says the world is broken because angels rebelled. Daniel says the world is collapsing because history itself is degenerating. And yet both agree on something really profound. Human civilization isn't endless. History is moving forward toward a conclusion. The clock of heaven is ticking. Empires rise, empires fall, but somewhere beyond the chaos lies a moment when the hidden machinery of the universe will finally reveal itself. And when that moment arrives, the secrets written in the stars will no longer be secrets at all. Because sometimes the most fascinating ideas in history were written not on earth, but in the sky.